exchange.
Yeah, testimony which I about to give. My recollection is the truth. And not about the truth. So help me God. Sorry, we just want to say I got qualified.
At this point, we will proceed. With self-introduction of senators here. Oh, we can start with the guest self-introduction, right? Yes. Just so that they will know them before they give their remarks. Not just when they are speaking, they introduce themselves. So we'll start with our guests, then we'll come to the Senate. Starting from my far left to my far right.
I'm Esther Newville, President of the Petroleum Importers Association of Liberia.
My name is Amos Weah, Managing Director, Liberia Petroleum Refining Company.
My name is Aaron J. Weah, Senior, Chairman, Board of Directors, LPRC.
My name is Jacob Julius Smith. I'm the Deputy Managing Director for Administration at LPRC. Thank you.
I'm Aaron CKC. I'm the Deputy Managing Director for Operations at Liberia Petroleum Refining Company. Thank you.
I am actually Prince Kier, Senior, in-house legal counsel.
I'm Soko Ekama, Senior, Financial Controller at LPRC.
Okay, we'll start from my immediate right, my far right, with the Senate.
I am somewhere going over, Senator of Nima County.
I'm Senator Prince K. Moore, Senator of Nima County, Chairman of the Senate the Senator of Moore County, sorry. Chair Senator. Chairman, Committee on Ways, Lays and Finance. Member of the Judiciary Committee.
I'm Abraham Dallas, I represent Marcy Donald County, and I'm a member of the Judiciary Committee and President of the Bill.
My name is Emmanuel Nukwe. I represent the County, and I chair the Public Operations Committee.
Senator Councilor Joseph Jala, Senior Senator of Lofa County, Co-Chair Judiciary Committee, Chairman Banking and Currency. Yes. When you come before Nima America, you can be here. You just came yesterday for the house. Thank you. Senator Koga, can you please recognize the chair of this hearing?
No more senior, no more jail, so
yeah. You can issue press release on that?
No, I won't release it.
What are you saying?
Okay. If you so, be part of it.
What was that legal team?
Legal team from where?
Hydrocarbon. What do you call hydrocarbon? Yes, my FPR says here. Excuse me.
We invited them. They send the people and yes,
okay. Come in quickly so we can start. At this point,
but is that one
what they got over here?
I'm not going to one.
You say what?
Importer?
Yeah.
That the importer?
Yeah, the importer. So,
all right.
They say what this is new, right?
Yeah.
Anything to be on the oath?
Yeah. Yeah.
You. Sergeant, if you will be speaking, then you need to put you on the oath. So we can make progress.
I do hereby solemnly swear that the testimony which I am about to give is my recollection is the truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Sir, the witness says not qualified for the hearing.
Thank you. Order, please. So the cooker,
Yes, sir.
please recognize this is a forum. We're not going to sleep here today.
Yes,
We're going to be expeditious. Okay, at this point, we will start. If you are institution head, you can take no more than 5 minutes to please give us your introductory remark. And if it's a long statement, you can give us a copy. We can digest it later on. Yeah, we'll start with FPRC. Give me a little bit. Do you have the list? Okay. Muhammad, doesn't it over here? Just before we start, anybody here for justice? Just come here, right?
Yeah.
Anybody here representing Councilor Tua, the Attorney General? Okay. All right, proceed. FPRC, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman and distinguished senators. In 1989, the legislature enacted the Exclusive Right Act, granting LPRC the authority to import, store, distribute, and commercialize petroleum and petroleum-related products within the Republic of Liberia. This legislation was not enacted by accident. It was a deliberate national policy decision to ensure that LPRC retained institutional oversight over one of its most critical economic lifelines. However, as Liberia's petroleum sector has evolved over the years, it has become evident that this law must now be modernized and strengthened to reflect the current realities. Today, on behalf of the management of the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, we first want to extend our profound appreciation and sincere gratitude to the Monserrate County Senator, Honorable Ibrahim Barras Belong, and to all distinguished like-minded senators who have demonstrated foresight, patriotism, and national commitment by supporting this important legislative initiative. We respectfully urge this Honorable Senate to give very careful and favorable consideration to the amendment of the 1989 Exclusive Right Act, a step that is both timely and necessary to strengthen Liberia's downstream petroleum sector and enhance national energy security. Management firmly believes that this legislative effort will strengthen LPRC's statutory mandate as the national authority responsible for managing and safeguarding Liberia's petroleum infrastructure, affirm and clarify LPRC's authority to import, regulate, store, distribute, and commercialize petroleum and petroleum-related products within a modernized and efficiently regulated downstream petroleum sector. Such an amendment, distinguished senators, will help ensure that Liberia's petroleum supply system remains stable, transparent, and capable of supporting the country's growing economic and energy infrastructure or energy needs. Such action would not restrict private sector participation. On the contrary, distinguished senators, it will establish a stronger institutional framework that promotes market stability, enhances regulatory oversight, and safeguards Liberia's national energy security. As demonstrated over the past 2 years since the inception of the Joseph Duma Boakai administration, these reforms will support a more coordinated, transparent, and resilient downstream petroleum sector that benefits both the public and private stakeholders. Our position on regulatory unbundling. Distinguished senators, in recent times, there have been proposals advocating for the immediate unbundling of the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company regulatory and operational responsibilities. Let me state very clearly, distinguished senators, that LPRC does not oppose or interpose objection to reform. However, what LPRC is concerned about is the pursuit of reforms that may inadvertently weaken existing institutions before the sector has matured sufficiently to support such structural changes. Institutional reform must be strategic, carefully sequenced, and aligned with the realities of Liberia's developing petroleum sector. At present, Liberia's downstream petroleum industry has not yet reached the level of institutional and market maturity required to sustain the separation of operational and regulatory functions into independent entities. Such a transition, if undertaken without the necessary institutional capacity and sector readiness, could create regulatory gaps, operational inefficiencies, and vulnerabilities in the management of our national petroleum sector, which we must highlight. First, Liberia's downstream petroleum market remains relatively small and still developing, with a limited number of operators. Second, Liberia has not yet discovered commercial quantities of oil, which globally is often the trigger for establishing independent petroleum regulatory authority in the downstream. Third, establishing a new regulatory institution will require significant financial investment, including infrastructure, technical aspects, laboratory, enforcement mechanisms, and administrative capacity. Fourth, separating regulatory authority from operational intelligence will result in institutional fragmentation and diminished regulatory effectiveness rather than strengthening oversight. Such a separation may also undermine LPRC's strategic investment in the downstream sector and potentially discourage future investment by creating uncertainty amongst existing and prospective investors. In other words, the risk is not simply the institutional inefficiency, the risk is also energy security instability. While the current integrated model protects Liberia, distinguished senators, at this stage of Liberia's development, the integrated institutional model under LPRC offers several critical advantages. It presents decades of accumulated institutional knowledge and operational expertise regarding Liberia's petroleum supply chain. It also ensures that regulatory decisions are guided by real-time operational intelligence rather than detached bureaucratic analysis. Additionally, the integrated framework minimizes administrative duplication and regulatory costs, thereby improving efficiency within the sector and helping to keep petroleum products more affordable for consumers. This approach, distinguished senators, has contributed significantly to the stability and effectiveness of the sector since the inception of the Unity Party administration over the last 2 years plus. Most importantly, the integrated structure enables LPRC to serve as one of the principal guarantors of Liberia's energy security, allowing the institution to respond swiftly and effectively to supply disruptions, global market volatility, and fuel security concerns. In a world where global energy markets are increasingly unpredictable, Liberia must maintain institutional stability in a sector that fuels our economy, a path to a fruitful reform. Distinguished senators, the position being presented today is not resistance to progress, as I indicated. It is a call for responsible, conditions-based reform that reflects the current governance and economic realities of our nation. LPRC fully recognizes that as Liberia's petroleum sector expands, and particularly if the nation discovers commercial oil reserves, the time may come when regulatory unbundling becomes both necessary and very beneficial. But when that moment arrives, the transition must occur deliberately, strategically, and with the proper legal, institutional, and financial frameworks already in place. Until then, the priority, distinguished senators, must remain very clear: to strengthen the institutions that currently safeguard Liberia's petroleum supply chain networks. Therefore, distinguished senator, today we respectfully ask this honorable body to support a legislative path that will amend the 1989 Exclusive Rights Act, grant LPRC stronger statutory authority, affirm LPRC's integrated mandate to safeguard Liberia's petroleum sector, defer any efforts at this time to carry out regulatory unbundling that could weaken national energy security. This recommendation is also consistent with recommendations from the very committee during hearings last year that made a decision for any attempt to unbundle to be deferred until oil is discovered in commercial quantity. These actions will not only strengthen a critical national institution, but will also enhance Liberia's economic resilience and reinforce the country's energy independence. At this stage, I will stop and maybe seek additional comments or input from distinguished panelists. But I just want to say on behalf of management again, we're very grateful to be here. And thanks to Senator Abraham Darras DeLong for advancing the legislative initiative to continue to now strengthen or give statutory legitimacy to the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Managing Director at LPRC. At this point, we will proceed to have a delegate from the Petroleum Importer Association to give his opening statement, taking into consideration our family boundary. Even though Mr. Todd may have exceeded, but he was the first speaker, so we're giving that dispensation. So proceed, Madam Delegate.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair and distinguished members of the Joint Committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today on behalf of the Petroleum Importers Association of Liberia. The petroleum sector is vital to Liberia's economy. Nearly every sector, from transportation and mining to telecommunication, manufacturing, and power generation, depends on a stable and reliable supply of petroleum product. For many years, the private sector has played a critical role in ensuring that stability. Petroleum importers finance cargo with private capital, maintain international supplier relationship, and manage the logistics required to bring fuel into Liberia. these activities, we also create jobs and contribute significant revenue to government through taxes, duties, and port charges. The petroleum importer position is that Liberia petroleum sector should continue to operate under a balanced framework, while government provides strong regulatory and oversight, while the private sector participate competitively in the importation and distribution of petroleum products. Liberian petroleum market is relatively small, as the managing director said earlier, and experience have shown that maintaining a diversified and competitive supply structure helps ensure stability, efficiency, and continued investment in the sector. We therefore respectfully encourage that any reform of the existing law strengthens transparency and regulatory clarity while maintaining fair participation for private investors. This approach will help ensure continued investment, reliable fuel supply, and long-term stability for Liberia energy sector. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
a copy of your. I'll continue to any other institution.
Okay. Yeah, all supported.
Yeah, so I don't know whether FPR. We'll go that's about all, so we can move to interaction.
Okay,
FPR,
we want to say thank you for our opening remarks. You seem to be very pointed. At this point, we will interact and engage each other, you know, in keeping with the spirit of the public hearing on the proposed act for FPRC. So we'll start now with Mr. Chairman of where's the minute? The flower ratio. So are we going to? We're about to start now. You want to be the first? Or?
yeah, okay.
Okay, volunteer. Okay, we'll start with Pro Tem Emeritus. We'll start with the chair, Pro Tem Emeritus.
Yeah, fire quick.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. MD. Senator, the last act, I didn't see anything about unbundling. But 90% of your statement was on unbundling. Can you tell us where's unbundling illustrated in the act?
Well, so the first off, Senator, we have commended Senator DeLong. We have commended Senator DeLong for the very proactive step to give us the statutory, legislative legitimacy. But at the same time, we know that we have been.
I was specific.
Appear here. I just want to put it in context.
Where in the act did you say unbundling? Please point it out to me. That's my question.
So we just wanted to use one stone to kill two birds.
So did you see anything?
Because we know ultimately there will be a question.
Did you see any?
No, it's not there.
Okay. So this is neither concluded by saying that to encourage reform, and reform will strengthen transparency and increase stability. That was the first thing. That's what conclusion. That's opposed to what you are saying that we should find oil. If we don't find oil, there is no reform. So, in continuation of my the discussion, I will introduce chapter 3 in this act. And the title of chapter 3 will read, outside. I'll introduce chapter 3. You know it's for, sorry, go ahead. And the title will be Institutional Framework and Arrangements in the Downstream Sector, the sector. In summary, it states that in line with international best practice and to avoid overlapping functions and conflicts, the roles of policy, regulatory oversight, and operation will be housed in 3 distinct and separate institutions. You can have LPRC setting policy as you say in the Act. LPRC regulating, both if playing football and if you assistant referee, how the private sector will go. Then at the same time you are operating. Private sector building tanks. Private sector refinery, you are refining at the same time you're setting the rules. Completely out of order. So policy setting will be vested with the Minister of Mines and Energy or any other agency the government decides. There will be a regulator to balance. You want to participate. You want to import. At the same time, want to regulate importers. There has to be a referee. And it will not be LPRC. You can't be referee and player. So there will be an institution with regulatory oversight. We can name that institution the National Petroleum Commission. And what will be the work? They will issue the licenses for importation. They will issue licenses for operations of refineries. They will set the prices of petroleum products. They will regulate the distribution of petroleum products. They will monitor the quality of petroleum products. They will monitor the collection of the National Road Fund levy and any other regulatory function. There will be a third institution. There will be an operating, that will be a state company to compete with the private importers, to compete with those that want to refine. We can name it the Liberian Petroleum Corporation, and what will be the functions? That entity, that state entity, will engage in the importation, exploitation, trading of petroleum products by the importers. See, so you'll be competing with the importers, but there will be a referee, it will not be you. That entity, that state entity, will engage in the construction and operation of refineries. That state entity will engage in the distribution of petroleum products. And that state entity will engage in the storage of petroleum products and the construction of petroleum tanks. If the G2G operates, if the government gives us petroleum, so Nigeria does, that state entity will manage that G2G contribution. And that state entity finally will acquire the present infrastructure of LPRC. When you do that, you will see, obviously you see the balance. That referee will license you LPRC. You want to compete with the private sector, go and compete. But you can't be hiding under the umbrella the government agency. You regulate. How you will be playing and be referee? It's impossible. It's impossible. I will not go for any law that does that. The national energy policy was very, very clear, and we have to undertake that reform. But as you said, we need time. You can't do it overnight. We don't wait for the oil is discovered. They may not be oil, they may be oil. So 3 years is our suggestion. Within 3 years, we will commando LPRC. That's my first contribution. Secondly, according to the Act, or when you pass the Act, all agreements you have with any agency, all institutions, all those contracts, more than 4. We respect the sanctity of agreements. Whatever agreement you sign, every other sign, you have to respect it. You have to, as soon as you change you amend the Act, they say, oh, all agreement non-accord, they're looking for lawsuits against the government that will cost you millions of dollars. So I'm, as the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, I totally oppose it, and I will oppose it. Mr. Chairman, I start here.
You have you got it coming?
I see that why I'm looking at you now.
Maybe not going to go to
Look, some of the things that will be raised here will require, continual consultations.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's Liberia Senator, a very distinguished one at that. So we have so much respect for him.
Energy background.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you.
Okay.
Honorable Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment.
1 minute.
One
Go
minute.
ahead. You got, yeah.
I want us to also look at our position, because listening to the Honorable Senator and LPRC have to compete with us, where does that leave us? If that entity comes in to regulate, then LPRC have the tanks, the storage farms, where are we going to bring our product? We cannot compete with a state entity. So our position here is LPRC can continue regulating and let us stay in the commercial sector where we will distribute, import and distribute. Because from my knowledge, there hasn't been any shortage of petroleum products. We have a lot of players in the markets, including a lot of Liberians. So if LPRC starts to import regularly, then that kills the private sector. There goes the jobs. We have to lay people out. So we have to look at this whole framework strategically.
Is that the one here presiding?
Okay, Senator.
Can I?
Oh, to introduce yourself?
Yeah, but I'm a colleague. So
He
you
didn't
can
give me the.
yourself.
No, he said he had a problem with me. He's doing it.
So we're going to do
Yeah.
Okay, our colleague came in we're in progress. So,
Thank you.
so
My
we'll
name,
let him introduce himself and we'll continue with Senator Koga.
thank you. My name is Luminati Shnatika. I represent Green Crew.
And as Senator Koga comes in, I will be leaving for another meeting. Senator Luca will preside, in my absence. Just to let you know if you see me disappearing. So, Senator Koga, you have a
Branca used the time one time.
Huh?
I said Senator Branca used the
Yeah,
time.
but you can say something.
You may not get it. What do you think?
Senator Brian said you used them to introduce yourself. Let them do it.
Anyway, the men that were on the APRC, go ahead. Introduce yourself, Senator.
My name is Diego Brown, former planning and project director of PRC. I represent Maryland County.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Senator Koga.
Yeah, thank you. To the managing director of the LPRC, and also the committee chair, the members. I would like to know, if my memory serves me right, the MD talk about 1989 law that was acted and gave exclusive right to LPRC. My concern is, since this law was acted, is it very effectuated?
Yes, Senator, to a larger extent, it has been in practice for the most part. Part of some of those functions have not been very, very effective. Until recently, when we took a strategic decision as a government to begin the importation of refined petroleum products for the purpose of ensuring that the market is stabilized, that prices are fairly decided in the interest of the citizens in the country overall.
If you have the law under your domain,
why encourage other importers that are there before at this time you want to cut?
At this time, what?
I said, this law is your guiding tools. But since the law came into being, we see other business communities like the oil importer, West Oil, streamers, and all the people that are importing oil. But you got a law. Why allow them to be imported?
Well, that time there was again a decision taken by previous management then due to limited capacity on the part of LPRC and due to a host of other factors. So the tax of importing was consigned to importers. So LPRC only now started giving importation lessons. So when you have the capacity, you're able to meet the requirements laid down by management, then you become an importer and then you started importing petroleum products. So LPRC really never had the capacity to go into the market and begin importing. That's how the decision was made to consign that tax of importation to petroleum importers, to Liberian importers.
This law will be people that franchise or they need to do.
No, let me clarify. The law provides that the law gave LPRC exclusive rights, but it also made a provision for LPRC to franchise some corporation based on written consent, and that written consent shall be approved by the president. So, having the exclusive right, any stakeholders participate. And once you have to participate, you go to LPRC, get written consent, and have written consent, shall be approved by the president. So that's why the law provides for.
So you are simply saying that the franchise that was given out were approved by the president. Is that correct? You say you were incapacitated at the time. So you decided to offer your right to others. So was it approved by the president then?
Well, I was not the managing director.
Well, you are assuming now.
So we can say for our administration, the decisions that have been taken have been approved by the president, consistent with the act.
You know,
Which act?
Act 20, exclusive right of LPRC.
1 minute, Senator Coker, so can be clear. The Exclusive Right Act gave LPRC some exclusive rights, including entering into a contract with companies. But that act does not expressly, it is in the regulation and board resolution that grant LPRC the authority to lease and sublease and with the authority of the president. I'm not sure that under the act, it did not act expressly say that the president will approve 77. Correct? Yeah. So just clear that one move on. So
the chairman is here, so you knowledge to that. We need clarity on that, please. Because when laws are ambiguous, they level others to interpret their way. But when it's crystal clear, it gives clear direction to the reader and the person who comprehends what is being written. Because the reason why I did some research, yes, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and other countries, they have similar practice. But I believe there was sufficient dissemination of information to the citizenry, even will be business importer, oil importer, and what have you. And they will be guided. But wherein the law is not explained to the citizen at times, they feel otherwise. So it's a new phenomenon coming even to me, who's sitting here. That LPRC have that exclusive rights. So for us to accept this law is somehow difficult. But however, law can be amended. This is the reason why whenever you make law, you make a provision for amendment. So Chairman, I stop for now. Later on, we come back.
Okay, so, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman and distinguished senators. So, the MD, what's the difference between this law, the current law before us, and the Exclusive Rights Act? What's the difference?
What Senator Dillon is seeking to do with our support as management is to create LPRC as a statutory government institution. Unlike the Exclusive Right Act, it only granted LPRC the exclusive rights to do the importation, storage, distribution, and commercialization of petroleum products in the Republic of Liberia.
With that, what's the national dividends the government stands to benefit if Senator Dillon Act is taken into consideration? Because we have been assessing LPRC almost every budget year. And sometimes to make those contributions to the national budget is a problem. So if you see me asking what's the difference, and I'm not just talking about creating entity, but a viable entity like LPRC, what does the government stand to benefit in supporting the consolidated account to development needs of the government? That's my real question. It's not just giving you statutory protection, but what the financial dividends the government stands to benefit. That's what I want you to speak to.
So I think this law is going to strengthen LPRC the more as a statutory entity of government. And I just want to also add that for the last 2 years, from our assessment and analysis of situation, with the work we're doing along with other players, the government has been able to at least increase its revenue on petroleum products, given the different kind of work we've been doing with petroleum stakeholders and even government agencies. So this law is going to legitimize legislatively the LPRC as a statutory government entity, and for the most part, it's also going to absolve LPRC from some of the issues about challenging us that the entity is not created by law.
There I want you to speak to, because there's a 16 billion that has been, challenged as a result of some of the decisions that have come out of LPRC. That's what I want you to speak to.
Yes.
When this law is created, will you have that legitimacy? This will be the storage fee. And the storage charge.
That's exactly.
On the 1 gallon, and nobody going to challenge that. That's what we want to hear, because it's like somebody saying somewhere and just imposing something on some people.
That's exactly the rationale. One of the rationales for creating, LPRC as a statutory government entity, because some of the key functions, for example, deciding on storage fees on different levies, will be enshrined into the law. So that alone will make other individuals who have been challenging decisions LPRC have been taking not to challenge, because it's created by an act of the legislature.
So in addition to the rule fund, if this law is passed, storage fee will be set in other facts. In that process will accrue additional revenue to the national coffers. That's what you're trying to say.
Well, we're hoping so that by the passage of this law, again, it's going to give us more teeth to bite, but in a very reasonable, professional way, consistent with laws, working alongside relevant government agencies that are responsible to collect government lawful revenue, like the LRA, because we're not into that. So it's going to help to facilitate a whole lot of processes that increase government revenue, ensure transparency in the collection of government taxes, and so forth.
Okay, so just to conclude, like Senator Chair said, pro tem emeritus, your president, you get follow up? You want me to start? Oh, okay. No, let me just, half of your presentation was centered around the unbundling of LPRC. Are you afraid that unbundling will render the institution incapacitated to discharge the function that the Executive Rights Act gave? Is that your fear?
Well, our concern is not so much about fear, Senator. At this point in time, there are a whole lot of things that will happen that we regularly indicated. One is going to cause, disruptions in our operations because he said to you, some portion of functions of LPRC will be removed. And when that happens, it's also going to impact workforce, it's going to impact revenue, it's going to impact the kind of work that we're doing, for example, investment.
We're not doing outside, we go to another agency
So that's why we concur with you in a way that ultimately LPRC will be unbundled, but we believe that the realities, the dynamics, at current doesn't really call for that. So it requires a whole of government, a whole of government approach. You're calling for 3 years, who say that oil is discovered in commercial quantity, which will now position the government or the country to do that. Because the honest truth is that when you remove part of our revenue, ultimately the employees are going to get affected. Some of the things that we're doing, we're contributing to government's budget, will not be done because that revenue is going to be split. The new entity that's going to be created will have to find it difficult to find their footings on the ground. So it's going to take a whole lot of time, to adjust, to understand the work that they're supposed to do. There are a number of things that will play out. So right now, what we are, our recommendation is that as a government, these different recommendations or talks are very necessary, but it's good for us to be very circumspect, in the decisions that are evolving, because they might let them place additional strains on the shoulder of the government. You are chair of the Waste Means, you already find it difficult to allocate money here and there. When you're creating another institution, they will have to come to you to say, create budget line, and all of those. So those are concerns that we have. Instead of creating budget line, you can easily use that money to pay attention to schools in the interior, in the rural areas, and support government's development initiative, while we're working hard to make sure that LPRC is more vibrant, viable, and responsive to the needs of the people. Then when oil is discovered in commercial quantity, because we know that we're going to be able to generate revenue from there, we can now create the entire institution that's been proposed.
Okay, so just to conclude from my end, I think the Executive Rights Act is almost in line with the current bill proffered by our colleague.
Yes.
Under your regime, what has that helped to do in terms of the ability to import and regulate the market? What has happened in that event?
Thank you, Senator. I think you've seen over the last 2 years complete stability in the petroleum sector.
Okay.
There's, as a matter of fact, prior to because we're working very diligently with these importers, who have very serious experience. Prior to whatever crisis is going on right now, for example, Liberia was the second country in West Africa to have the lowest price of petroleum products out of 16 countries. We're also the 8th country in the entire Africa, in Africa, to have the lowest price of petroleum products out of 54 countries. Even though we are a non-oil producing nation, we were the 28th country in the whole world to have the lowest price of petroleum products, even though we are a non-oil producing country. So when you ask what is it that has happened, we ensure complete stability in the petroleum sector, working alongside these stakeholders, and at the same time we ensure fair pricing decision, okay, in the interest of the people, as a result of our coordination and very, quality working relationship with petroleum stakeholders in the country. And we're hoping that that can continue to happen. As a matter of fact, of course, we're taking decisions to make sure that we minimize the adverse effect of the conflict currently in the Middle East.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Before you come in, you wanted to respond to the question posted by Senator Weah?
No, not necessarily.
What do you want to respond to?
First, the comment made by Senator Che about the reforms, supporting my colleague, the president of the Importer Association. By the way, I'm Emmanuel T. Tuba. I am the president and CEO of Aminata and Sons Incorporated. I want to lend support to my colleague, specifically on the issue of reforms from the petroleum importers. Still looking for reforms. We're not necessarily asking about unbundling the LPRC. We are looking for strengthening existing reforms to make sure the regulation of LPRC protects the private sector in such a way that we are not seen as competing with LPRC in any manner. Today, the existing framework. No, let me make the point.
More is girls.
No, I'm not asking for unbundling. I'm here. I don't want to interpret my statement better than myself. I said, and I will say it again, that we're asking to protect the private sector in such a way that LPRC's importation does not affect our capacity to trade. So now, this is not unbundling. What we say when you say unbundling, you're talking about LPRC having a sole responsibility only to import, and then somebody else as the regulator. If this happens, let me see what the court.
So, Mr. Tuba, let me get this clear from you. The reform spoken about by Senator Che Protem Emeritus suggests that there will be a government operator that will import, distribute, and sell petroleum products on the market just like you. Is that what you don't want?
Yes. Of course, this is not what I want. And I say this particularly because Liberia has a specific situation.
What's your fear? That if there's a...
I'm not giving my fear.
Yes.
The market is small. LPRC has almost 50%, if not more than 50% of the storage capacity. Being an operator that competes with me suggests that we are not in the market. There will be only LPRC. There will be LPRC, Connex, and Streamex. Only 3 importers. From the day that decision is reached, there will only be 3 importers. That will mean loss of private sector jobs immediately. All of the operators working for Aminata, working for Nexium, working for over 20-something importers in the market will be completely brought down to the hope because LPRC's sole responsibility will be to compete with 2 other persons. Today, the existing framework works. With LPRC importing, LPRC has imported, by the way, it did not affect our operations in any manner and form. In fact, it created a situation where LPRC brings the product in and does not necessarily go into the market. They give the product to importers at the price just to make sure that the market is fairly treated, that importers do not hike prices. This is understood by us and we want to keep it this way.
Oh, that computer. Amen. You scared of God? Yeah.
I'm not scared of God.
No, you scared.
Hello. Please hold on. Mrs. Weah spoke about regularities, fairness and regularity, as you put it, of clarity in regulatory rules. We talked about that. And you also, when Senator Che made her presentation, you came back to say you as importers are not asking for unbundling in a way that you become competitors to LPRC. You don't want that. meaning you want the current status quo where LPRC is regulating and also operating in a minimum way by partnering with you people. That's what you want. That's what you're asking for.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chairman, want to follow up?
Yeah. So Senator Cook, I'll make his follow then
Mr. Managing Director, I had a concern. How can you correlate your entity being a duty-free consumer? LPRC is importing that government importation. Definitely you have duty-free. Then other entities, private entity coming in with commodity of the same or similar, paying duty. How can you correlate that on the market?
Senator, I'm sorry to say, but that information is not accurate. LPRC, the product we imported, all the taxes on petroleum product were paid to LRA. I will recommend or suggest that you ask the LRA folks, they were made to that. The records are there. At no point in time we've ever dodged or evaded any taxes on petroleum products, no. So we don't enjoy duty-free privilege. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so we move on to Senator Badekwa.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity. MD, even though you are currently you are regulating the sector, can I really know how many importers we have currently?
Thank you, Senator. For this year, we have been able to issue far less than 10 licenses.
Less than 10?
Yeah, less than that.
So it could be less than 5?
See that?
I think so it could be less than 5.
So
how many?
So it's around, I think, 6, 7 or thereabouts. And because we're still streamlining or analyzing some of the those that have applied against the requirements. That's what I'm saying that.
And then LPRC is one of the importers.
So this year we're not importing. We're not. Yeah.
Since this year you haven't?
No.
Of course, we just from January to March.
Yeah.
That's why. But last year you imported.
Last year we did. So let me say this: the importation we're doing, Senator, we're doing strategic importation for the purpose of increasing government or the country's buffer. You know, for example, what happened currently? What is happening right now? If we had not done importation, you know, probably by this time you see people scrambling and standing in long queues and so on. So it helped to stabilize. And because we also were able to construct additional tank, we've managed to increase our overall, you know, stock in the country. So it's helping us to carry on while also importing additional petroleum products.
So am I understanding that the reason for which importation is being limited, the frequency is being reduced, is to ensure that they are kept in business?
Well, it's one of the reasons. We don't want to keep battling with them. And again, as I said, our objective here is not to be importing and making profits. Our objective is to make sure that whenever we import, to ensure stability in the petroleum sector, the petroleum market, but at the same time so that together we can make fair pricing decision. It's important. If the government is not in the market, doesn't know what is happening between the suppliers and the importers, you know, the different prices, whether it's price figures, whether it's premium, and so on. If we don't know that, it will be very difficult for us to just make a decision in the interest of the people. But the fact that we also understand, you know, going through the different processes, it is better for us and it's also better for them. That when prices are decided, they are decided as a government and it's a win-win one in the interest of the consumers or the end users and even the importers. So our intention is not to be a competitor, as they said, to them, but to make sure all of the time that there is availability of petroleum products and the prices are fairly decided in the interest of the people.
Before coming back to you, let me first understand the purpose of this hearing. Is that of all of the institutions that were invited here, the proposed bill to ensure that LPRC is legalized as a statutory institution? Is there any institution that is in opposition to that?
No.
No, not you now. I'm talking about the others that were invited.
I'm not sure.
Any of you?
For the petroleum sector,
Yeah.
we are talking about the framework that has to do with the importation. With the importation, it will be direct competition with us, and we cannot compete with government when it comes to that.
No, but they are already importing. The law, they have the responsibility, their legal role they have currently, they have the right to import. And what I mean, the proposed law to legalize, to create them as a legal entity, not incorporation, article incorporation. That proposal, is there any of you that have concern or in opposition to it? That's what I'm asking. The question not for you. We invited people to hear from them. Whether the law that we are enacting, any of them is accepted to it.
Well, our position here is because if this law is enacted, it can be for us and it can be against us.
How?
One, it can be against us for the fact that LPRC just stands there to import.
And stop you.
Yeah.
They have the right to give you license or not.
Well,
business they seem our. When that's why
this new framework is important, because the private sector have invested in this industry.
Yes.
And with FPRC importing, that also affects because our market, you have to understand, especially if you even want to bring another sector in. Our sector is different from any other sector. You have to understand the sector and how we lose money or how we make money or how we break even. And all of these changes, it has to be done where we are involved, so it does not affect the supply of petroleum in the market. If LPRC regulatory rights are taken, what happens? They become full importers, because what happened to us? They have the tanks, so they fill out all the tanks. So how can we bring in product and how can we survive?
That's why you are saying it means that you are completely in support of the unbordering. No. So you are saying no. Yeah. No. So it means no. She is saying you should be retained as a regulator. No. And they should have the right only to import. That's what she's saying.
No, let's provide direction. Let's provide direction. No, and that's why the importers are against. That's why the importers are currently speaking against. They don't want LPRC to import at all. Because if LPRC serves as importer, they have their tanks. They survive on LPRC tanks. If LPRC becomes fully an operator, an importer, and their sole business is to import, it means that we are putting them out of business. So that's what they are saying. So they don't want
LPRC to be unbundled so that they become an importer.
That's what they are saying. No, they don't want everybody to import. What are we saying? For everybody to be regulator, they are saying for everybody to be regulator, but not to import. They compete against them.
The chairman.
Hello. Let's hear from them.
We seem to be responding for them, the importers. The importers are here to speak for
Yes,
themselves.
That's the question I asked.
Yeah, if FPRC president will intimidate you, we can have you here by yourself.
Yeah. What are you coming to do?
No, we are not. We are not intimidated. We are speaking this clearly, and I don't understand why there's.
Okay, break it down for us, Mama.
Okay.
You understand?
LPRC importation. We do not want LPRC to join the importation ranks.
Exactly.
Plain and simple. Because we've been running this sector for years without shortages. Let them regulate, and that's what we are saying. Let them be a regulator, and then. And let us stay on the commercial side, because we cannot compete with LPRC. And also, honorable senators, you need to know we have obligations. We have obligations to the bank. We have invested in this sector, and there's a lot of money involved. Just putting us aside or making us compete with our government.
Mrs. Weah, let's get it clear. It's important that we really understand. You focus on LPRC. Why if LPRC remains as a regulator, and the new law says that we should have another company that will be solely responsible for operation to be imported like you. Let's remove LPRC. That LPRC will be only regulated, but there will be a government company. There will be a government company like the TECO in the telecommunication sector. Then the TECO in the telecommunication sector. There will be a company in the petroleum sector to import and sell petroleum products on the market.
Honorable Senator, that will not help our case. Our market is small. It's not like other countries. Our market is very small, and competing with the government will not help our case. It does not help our case in any way.
So, you don't want government to be involved with the importation of petroleum products, whether LPRC or any other company.
Exactly.
Hello.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yes,
Let me say my last concern. The concern you have, yes, is genuine, but again, as you're looking at all of the sector, you're talking about the electricity sector, you're talking about the network sector, all of that. Government must have an institution that it can refer to in case of failure of that sector. So, the chair, you can.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Balaba. We now move on to the proponent of this bill. Distinguished Honorable Harris,
The chairman is not going to come by you.
Okay, thank you.
No, I won't come by the chairman. Come on.
Thank you, Coach. Just for us to be in clear perspective, somebody will ask out there, but FPRC been operating. FPRC been operating all these years. So what does it mean to act FPRC? We thought FPRC was already enacted. This hearing is not a query hearing. This hearing is to help inform the action the legislature seeks to take through the bill that will put on the floor to enact FPRC into law. FPRC as a public entity has been existing on an Articles of Incorporation since 1978. No structural enactment of FPRC to determine what they can do, what they can do, their administrative function, who appoints who at FPRC. There is no act of the legislature since 1978. And under the Business Association law, when you operate under Articles of Incorporation, more like a business entity that you renew your business registration every year. When you're acting on an act of the legislature, as a public entity set as FPRC, you don't need to do business registration every year. So we want to enact FPRC into law so that it can give authority to the President of Liberia. Since 1978, there is no law that gives authority to any president of Liberia to appoint anybody at FPRC. So we want to put all of these things into perspective for reform. FPRC will be obligated by this act, if passed into law, on obligation statutorily to make contribution to the national budget. FPRC function as referee, player, and commissioner in this field will be determined by this act structurally. This act will provide for the qualifying requirement to determine who becomes FPRC managing director and deputies, and subject to Senate confirmation in keeping with other laws. This act begins its authority under Article 89 of the Constitution of Liberia that grants the legislature the authority, in fact the exclusive authority, to enact public entity into law and provide for how they will be governed. All of you are here today to provide your input into this draft bill to determine what is good for the country. So that the Importers Association also were cited here, the Minister of Justice and other institutions of government related to lawmaking were invited for us to have this hearing of the minds with expert opinions, and we hear from you so you can get to inform the act. So I just wanted to set that basis for us to be clear as to why we are here, so that it doesn't confuse the public that what FPRC been existed. What kind of new bill is that? FPRC have never existed under the act of the legislature, and this is what we seek to do. I hope we are clear with that. So my question, I just want to be simple with my question. And I want simple answer to the Importers Association. Why don't you want LPRC as the entity of government to import petroleum products? Question. So let me answer.
The importers have invested in this sector, and our market is small, given that LPRC have the tank farms. Where will we bring our product to stay in business. That means we'll no longer be in business because there's nowhere to take our product. Besides the other private terminals that are available, which may not have space for us because the private terminal is supposed to be for their product and not for other importers' product.
Okay, so your suggestion or your position is we take away that right to FPRC to import.
Now that the private sector is importing, FPRC may bring in buffer stock for emergency or whatever they need, but there's never been problem. We don't set prices. The prices are set by the government. We are business people and we want to stay in business. And in order for us to stay in business, we cannot compete with
FPRC have brought in consignment. I think one consignment said FPRC was foreign. Recently.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct?
Let me speak to that consignment that was brought in.
Yeah, they know if I land, then you know about it.
Yes.
It will help you inform you.
Okay.
Because without FPRC, why they want to you? Why would you get in the authority by the new law if we pass it?
Okay.
To bring product, right? But I will ask you first to be clear why you don't want FPRC to bring product. So FPRC have been having the power, send nothing in the land to also import. Now one consignment did not bring, as far as I know, including the former managing director saying now he didn't import anything.
I want to think that
when I'm feeling they want that they brought to test the market, to test the authority granted them.
You mean when they brought and get an SP to sell for the Czech Republic?
So importing it for sale. No, but they import it for sale. Yeah, they can sell it for sale. Thank you. Fine. So my issue is FPRC tested this right one time recently since 1989. What harm did it cause to the private importers?
The amount they brought in was relatively small, and the product was given to an importer to importers to supply to the market. But I can tell you, yes, if LPRC starts to import, right, and we have volumes in the country, I mean, it's conflict of interest. I will make sure that my products finish on the market before anybody else's product is lifted from the terminal.
So when you bring your product, FPRC bring product, FPRC will sell a product first. Is that what you're suggesting? Before your product?
Not necessarily, but they will have the authority to do so because they control the terminal.
Okay, so, but why do you think we want plentiful importers?
Why do we want? To encourage the private sector. The private sector provide jobs.
Yes.
They pay taxes.
Yes.
So LPRC is another government entity. I mean.
But you leaving one thing out. The price on the market will be affordable because the market force determines.
Exactly.
So the more the
importer,
including FPRC.
And that's one of the reasons we have the lowest price. Also,
I'm not responding for FPRC. I'm a proponent of that bill. I want to be clear what we're passing. So when we're passing, when it becomes law, when we're exercising their authority, we can be asking where they're talking from. So my issue is, you don't want FPRC to import. Your argument will make sense to me, and my colleague will move it from in the law. But right now, you're convincing me yet. That's why I keep asking. FPRC you bring it to what it harm?
As I stated the tank farm issue, giving laycan. So LPRC can say, I'm not giving you laycan until my product gets in. They can hold the space in the tank and all of that. And then besides that, let's go to pricing.
So the regulation there. The regulation there.
Yeah.
That means we can allow FPRC to import. But what FPRC can import and what you can import, that authority, that regulatory authority, we can take it from FPRC. So they can be a advantage for you.
Yes! I love that.
Wait, 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute.
Because
No, I can't relax. Because I'm going to the way you live by the table. Don't worry. I just ask you question. I'm coming to you for you to convince me why we should keep certain things and so relaxed. Back to you, madam. So FPRC, if they're importing and they determine that you can import too, right? Then if they're importing and you importing, the storage belongs to them. Mostly.
Yes.
Right? Then they will prioritize themselves over you, the private entities.
Yes, correct.
So that right, who to import, we should take it from FPRC.
Yeah.
That right, that the regulatory authority to determine who can import, we should take it from FPRC and vest it in another entity.
Well, LPRC can import for buffer. And buffer means that we have product on ground where if there's
Strategic reserve.
Strategic reserve.
Right.
But given that the amount of importers we have and the volume that we have far exceed what we need in the country at any given time.
That one a business thing. In my view as a national leader, that's a visionary. Strategic reserve will not be reserved by private entities. It's reserved by government control, like FPRC.
Exactly.
Not necessarily to be retailer and all that stuff. It's reserved for crisis time, where you can import or you want import, but you say you want our new thing and before you import
Maybe
or before
increase
you
the
import
price.
then FPRC can put us out of stable
Yeah,
at that time.
we have no points on that.
Under the strategic reserve and stuff you talking about.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Proceed now. I want all to be clear with it.
So that's the only reason we wanted to import for strategic reserve. Because our margins are small, and as a regulator in this industry, if they are regulating and then bringing in product, that put us at a disadvantage.
Okay. But so if it would take away that other authority from FPRC to import, they can import but for strategic reserve.
Correct.
But they can't import for the market.
Yes.
Unless there's a crisis where government has to intervene. If we take that other thing there from FPRC, don't import yourself to compete on the market. The authority for FPRC to determine who can import as in granting license. We should leave it with them.
Yes, I mean, FPRC have been doing this for a long time. They understand the market because really our sector is very unique. And if you do not understand how this sector works, the players can lose a lot of money. They do. And sometimes we do.
So the only problem right now the importers have, FPRC should not import and compete with them in the market.
Correct.
All the other things FPRC can continue with.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so let's come to FPRC. You got clean it, Thank you. Thank you. Mr. MD, why you want to import yourself? Question.
So, Senator, it's not that this management is craving to import. The decision to import was for strategic buffer. The decision to import was for the purpose of ensuring stability in the petroleum market. That was the decision to import. So, as part of the concession, as part of the discussion, LPRC can continue to play its statutory, exercise its statutory role, and importation can be done strategically. This I can tell you, our management can work with you as senators so that we set maybe the ceiling, if we may. LPRC can import certain percentage of the country's overall petroleum consumption annually. We can import certain percentage, but that's going to be for strategic purpose and at a particular point in time. So LPRC, our issue is not that we want to import every month like it's done by other importers, because we know that these people have licenses to operate. They are Liberian businesses. Part of our responsibility as a government is to make sure that the conducive environment is created so that they continue to operate and remain afloat, while creating jobs and helping government to generate revenue. So we cannot do away with them. But at the same time, as a government, we have a responsibility whenever there is a quote-unquote shortage of petroleum product, they're not going to them. Obviously, it has to be the government. Which entity of the government, that the head of this entity name will be in the newspapers. So part of our decision is that we can strategically do interventions in the market to import. And of course, even if you do the importation, and at any given point in time you have to release the product into the market, LPRC is not going into the retail market. The same importers can tend to be, off-takers for that particular strategic product. So I think as part of the give and take, we can have a conversation to see whether we can establish a ceiling that LPRC can be importing for strategic buffer and to ensure price stability and affordability of petroleum product on the market.
Do you want that ceiling percentage should be to form part of the law or through regulation?
Well, we can have that conversation. Maybe we can't say everything here in the hearing, but part of that can be, a discussion that we can have. It's part of that is going to be the discussion that we're going to have. As a matter of fact, because we know that the crisis will always evolve, Senator, we have taken a decision. I think we've had a conversation with you to build additional 10 farms. This is even going to help the country the more, so that as we help them to store their petroleum products, whatever other consignment that the country is bringing in can be kept in the new tank farm as a strategic buffer for the country. Yes.
So, upon the passage of this act,
you did well, they enjoyed it. I would have spoiled it.
Everybody from FTRC? Yes. Okay, no, would y'all want to be president? And y'all want to say something?
5, 6, 7.
Oh, no, you talk. Oh, so you. And you want to make input?
And they have.
They will chime in.
Yes.
The chairman is all.
Yes.
Is it in line with your questions?
Yes, so if you have to say so, it has to be in line with the
To
question
be in
asked.
line with.
But I think he has addressed that question.
No, but he's the chairman of the board. He wants to.
Yeah, I just want to also just add to what you said. The issue of importation, I think, is a major concern to the rest of the players. They have stated it clearly that they don't want us to import and compete in the market. FPRC, this act, as you said, it should address it should be able to provide a strong legal and regulatory framework that will make FPRC promote efficiency and will set the whole issue of governance at FPRC. FPRC will not have to go through the issue of setting up a commission to do some of the things FPRC already doing. FPRC have done this effectively over the years. There's no need to disrupt it. What we can do is to keep FPRC as it is and limit the issue of importation so that the importation part can be done by the private sector but regulated by FPRC. So that there will be...
Am I understanding that you disagree with the MD? Or slightly different?
That's a fair question.
Can I, MD?
No, I'm not
MD. Mr. MD, please. You MD and I'm a chairman of the board. Now he don't want.
So in the discussion, you're not going to defend your bill.
Yes.
You start presiding down there.
So
I'm not presiding.
So your question is therefore, prepare your bill. What's the diligence to you? And why you want to convince always is what we're concerned about.
So what the issue then?
The issue is presiding as I want to argue the question.
No, it's his time.
Really?
It's time to interact with our guests. He asked a specific question that was addressed by the MD, and he also asked if there were any additional input from the LPRC team. That's where the chair of the board came in. So, try to conclude. Although we have one senators here that will have to make any.
Yeah, sure. So, in conclusion, our Senator, LPRC should remain as it is.
As regulator.
But I think that issue has been addressed. Hello?
Yeah, so.
That's why King to say he's slightly different with the MD.
No, I'm not different.
So, hello, there's a Weah.
Yes, sir.
So I think we should allow the MD to continue. I think he has already addressed that question.
Okay.
So if there are any other question for which the MD cannot respond to, he will defer to you people. But once the MD speaks, I think that should cover for all of them.
Nobody in the country knows LPRC.
Yes. So yeah, we cannot have two different. If the MP had adequately addressed a particular question that was posted to the team, and we want all of them to make equal, the rest of the citizens will not speak. Unless if the information provided by the MD is not satisfactory. That's the point I'm making.
But why do you think the board chair decided that he wanted to say this piece? I mean, because maybe he gets on the path, maybe he will be in tandem.
Okay, so why is the issue you want to say that is different from what the MD said?
I think I'm not saying anything actually different from what the MD. I'm addressing what the MD said, so that the act that you have proposed will solve the issue of making LPRC to set a legal framework that will make LPRC more efficient, that will define all other things that have been defined, as we are now, in the issue of governance and the importation. LPRC, government should not set up all other things, keep LPRC as it is, as we said. And then the issue of importation, we have the right already to franchise it to the importers, and then we take care of strategic reserve and all other things, so that whenever there's a shortage, whenever there's imminent insecurity in the fuel sector, we can come in.
Okay. How are you for now? Then I'll come on the time when they say.
Thank you, Mr. Bosher. So the next in line is Weah Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let me thank my MD and his colleagues from LPRC and other partners. In principle, I support us passing a bill for LPRC. I read the draft, the act. There are a few concerns that I want to address. One of them has to do with Article 4 that talks about the mandate and functions of the LPRC. In 4.2.1, it states there shall be the sole and exclusive. Let me read. The LPRC shall be the sole exclusive regulator, importer, storer, licensor, wholesaler, distributor of all petroleum. I'm concerned why there's so much exclusivity. MD, can you in a few minutes explain to me why in a free market world you want the legislature, the Liberian Senate, to
approve this bill that gives exclusivity to the LPRC to input, to distribute, to store. Taking into consideration that already we have other entities, private entities that are doing similar functions. What is the idea that we should pass this bill? What is the idea? I don't understand why so much you want to be the sole and only person to do this in a free market world. That's my first question. Functional, please.
Can I address it quickly?
Yes, please.
So, Senator, was just basically about restating the Exclusive Right Act in this law, but particularly to ensure as a government that there is food security in the country and that you have an institution that you can from time to time reference when it comes to availability of petroleum products, so that that institution can work alongside private players who are also performing their own types of, after having been given license to import and distribute. So that is the logic. And part of this thing now is how we can have a conversation, some of the key things that we have been doing to recognize the fact that this is a free market, it's a liberal market, and that players will need to continue to play their respective roles in providing or meeting the demands of the public when it comes to consumption of petroleum products.
So, MP, taking what you said, you think that it will open this market up to other investors, private investors, that will undermine the availability of petroleum products in the market?
Senator, the market has been opening up. Players are participating. You've got terminal operators, the private players are owners of terminals in the country, and you've got several importers participating, and they've just indicated to you, some of them have done huge investments in the sector. The government continues to recognize and protect those investments to ensure that they can continue to recoup their profits while reinvesting to create more jobs and ensure that government raise the needed tax for development purpose. So yes, in a way, the sector is liberalized.
So that's good. That's the point I want to emphasize. So there are key words, Mr. Chairman, that I want us to look at when we finally do the final bill. The use of exclusive, right? The use of sole. We should be very, very careful on that. Let me go to 5.3, the executive management team. You have the MP, you have 3 deputies proposed. MP, do you have a problem with the management team of LPRC? Have a problem? If this law should state that the MD and the 3 deputies, I see 3. Okay, so 2. Do you have a problem if the law states that it should come from Senate confirmation?
No, I don't have a problem.
Good. So, Mr. Chairman, let's take note of that. I will suggest strongly, as we did to other public corporations, whose MPs, whose executive people coming for Senate confirmation, I think this law should take that they should come for the Senate confirmation as well.
So, Senator, can I just add something to it? Initially, since LPRC was created, the managing directors appointed, they always go for their own confirmation is with the board.
You already answered, Pastor, you answered the question. All the senators have to speak. You already answered the question. You come for confirmation.
If that's the case, I told you I don't want to come for confirmation. I prefer going to the board. So if that is the question, then the board should confirm consistent with what has been happening, what the tradition has been at LPRC. But again, it's part of the logic of the Senate that once this. Senator?
I'm just putting it to the chairman now.
Sure.
I actually address it.
Okay.
My recommendation is to the team is that the MPE, the deputies should
all board members. The entire board. The entire board to confirm. So we'll pass out.
Yeah. And then
MP, let's look at 6.2. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please proceed.
I have just a few more points. Payment of dividends to GOL. 6.2. It's read at the end, the amount to be paid by LPRC shall be determined based on the company's favorable financial position. You know the experience. Mr. Chairman, finance is what it means. We know the experience. I think it's always based on the assessment.
Let's change that budget support. Not that budget support. Let's change it.
Yeah, let's change it. We're making changes
Yeah.
to that draft.
So just change that one.
Your suggestion that didn't know that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I think the last thing, chapter 8, we need to look at the transitional measures to properly tune them. Wow, constitutional measures. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So we now yes, so
Senator Snow, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I read Senator Abache's statement, which I think is brilliant. That said that it's a Ministry of Mines and Energy be changed to the Petroleum Regulatory Authority. That's the only thing I think that's just a matter of communication.
That is chapter 3 that Senator Chair is proposing in the act, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, Senator Chair's idea for, let me state also that I do support the unbundling of LPRC, as stated by Senator Chair. LPRC, as it stands, imports, discharge, quality controls, LPRC, storage is LPRC, marketing is LPRC. So, the entire 9 years of LPRC. So maybe we should just say the importers stop importing, LPRC take the market. For LPRC cannot say you're doing that for strategic reasons. It's like 2029, the chairman of the Election Commission looks at the credentials of all the candidates. And it's hard nobody running for Senate that has electoral background. So the chairman of the Election Commission says, I will take part in the election to save the Senate. So that they will have experienced president with electoral background. That's what LPRC is telling us. I think the issue of LPRC is just not fair. I would support the transitional period. 2 years is extremely long, 6 months to a year. Because within a year, the mine director already campaigning, so he might not be focusing there too much. 15. So the new MD now, begin to experience. Why you want to smile and invest? Why you smiling with me? Your smile was here in a chair. Why you smile with me?
You want me to respond to each
So, I think it's a issue. I think 1 year transition will be okay because we can't go up. We say when we find oil, then we know. I think LPRC is just doing too much. LPRC is the player, the referee, the announcement, at the match commission, the organizer of the tournament, the award, the principal present the trophy, everything that's LPRC. And it's not a fair business practice. It's just not a fair business practice. It's the LTAC, they want to own their own cell phone company, but they want to also regulate the market. As it is now, NOCA wants to import. LPRC and NOCA are forcing because they see NOCA, you don't got a right to import. NOCA still got a right to import. The only one that get import is LPRA. So already in the sector that's open. Then when any government give us G2G crude oil, LPRC is the one who goes there to negotiate that as well. So LPRC wants to handle G2G, they want to handle the local market, they want to just everything. And for all intents and purposes, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. I think we are also putting the Liberian terminal out of business, the importers out of business. And if LPRC says what they want to do is let's find a regulator and LPRC import and then sell to distributors, fine. That's what you want to do if you have the capacity, fine. But to just take the entire 9 yard and say we do everything, we get the tank, we set the storage fees.
and you have your competitors, and you also want to set the storage fees. Then you control the laboratory, you want to do quality control. So somebody comes to a product, you determine that product, the PSI is less, or it doesn't reach the market specs, or the coloring, or the odoring, whatever it is. They say, no, you can't count, because there's competition. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief on this matter. I think the issue of LPRC, the right to unbundle, and in our sense that they don't propose to sell average or statement, I think it makes a lot of sense. We need to unbundle LPRC. LPRC cannot do everything. The transitional period, yes, they need to have a transitional period. It's fair. We cannot do it tomorrow morning. 6 months, maximum 1 year, I think it makes sense. But for LPRC to want to clinch onto everything in the industry, I think it's just not fair. It's not fair. I understand the Aminata's position. How far your 10 farm gone? I know you really, I know LPRC gave you land to build 10 farm, right? How far is it gone? Making progress, making progress. No, that's already said. Okay, so I understand where you come from, but I think they're wrong for LPRC to do everything. So I support Senator Dillon's bill, and I support the position from Senator Amber's chair, which I think means you cannot have net coming in to take part in the election that is also corrupted. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, permitting to recognize the President of the President of
Julius Kanaba?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, you're welcome. The President of the President.
Yeah, so we now move on to Senator Amara Kone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. First, let me thank Senator Dillon for sponsoring this bill. I think his explanation, educating everyone that this bill is intended to make FPRC truly unified SOE in a truer sense is welcome. I've also read Senator Abuchi, the proposal of Chapter 3. I think they are all in place, the policy I have listened to the witnesses, and I think most of the issues, the concerns that I have been addressed, but I have to say something about them. So we're trying to do reform. We cannot do reform halfway. We have to do deeper reform to make things better. I think that's what should be aiming for. We're about to make a law that is going to change the way FPRC does business.
We should wait for you.
My first point I would like to flag here for you and also for us in the Senate has to do with pricing authority and conflict of interest. I think when we get the bulletin on pricing in the sector, the bulletin is signed by the Minister of Commerce and Industry and FPRC. So we're about to make you a company, and this law is proposing, like Senator Brown said, you do everything, and then you set the price, and then you compete with these guys. I think supporting other senators will have to change that in the law. If you want to import and be a competitor, you can set the price. You can
enforce, you can't inspect, you can't license, you cannot confiscate assets of the competitors in the event of non-compliance with the rules. Section 4.2 of the proposed act gives you that exclusivity, and I think that's what everybody on this side of the table is trying to educate on. So the other thing I want to talk about here has to do with section 5.3.2 in the proposed law, which speaks to the authority of the managing director. It gives the managing director the authority to approve contracts up to $500,000, $500,000. The MD can do that without any agreement, procurement rule, without board approval, and whatnot. He's not here, but I just wanted to raise that that is a high figure to be open to the MD without consulting the board or without going through any procurement process. And we need to think about the same that it may not be 8 months tomorrow. We're not going to be there forever. Another MD might come, we may have a situation where somebody may abuse that, and we'll be making noise around here again about corruption, nothing will come out of it. So it's better we put safeguards in place to avoid or to minimize abuse. The third issue I have here has to do with the board governance and alignment to the new Bureau of State-Owned Enterprises Act, BSE Act. So we are proposing that the board will receive quarterly compensation, correct? Sitting fees, and members of the board will serve entirely at the pleasure of the president. So we just passed the new Bureau of State-Owned Enterprises Act here. I think I asked a question in our chat. We passed that here. And the board governance and compensation, etc., is outlined in that act. That's the bureau that oversees all of SOEs in the country. We need to align this portion of the bills with that one, so that there's uniformity in our governance, SOE governance architecture. So, Mr. Chair, those are the issues I wanted to flag to them, and to thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For me, I've listened to almost all the questions from my colleagues. I don't really have a question, I just want to make a comment. That way I think we have this process. Normally it's important lawmaking to invite those who the law will affect. And when you are invited, most time you need to look at the law and maybe some suggestions to the proponent or those who's going to review it, instead of coming and come with a position. Because you are in the sector. Maybe there are certain things you experience in the sector that we do not know. So you are given an opportunity to always make sure to use it at the advantage of the country and everybody. I think from what I've seen the last few minutes sitting, and from the onset, and I'm just speaking from experience, once we attempt to pass a law, people are not starting they're going to pass the law for themselves. So the whole thing that you're going to be there forever. You will leave, the other people come. So make the best suggestions. You are in the sector, you know what's happening there. little suggestions that will help. What I've been saying here is like, you know, be a little bit defensive. And you are given an opportunity. You will choose to pass the law tomorrow. But the fact that you are invited, you need now, you are the technician, the expert center. You have seen those things that we're not seeing, so you're supposed to inform us in our mind. In a way, if you get gone along, if you do it right, look at it point by point, and state the advantages and disadvantages of certain provision. What I really see that here today, and I believe that why you are given the opportunity to come here and do that. So, Mr. Chairman, I think the rest of the discussion will be completely what I want to make now.
Thank you. So I would like to ask a few questions. So, Mr. Andy, I'd like to clearly understand what has been the rules in terms of importation, storage, operation, regulation. What have been the key rules that LPRC has been playing over the years and that LPRC is currently playing along those lines?
Well, our role, Senator, has been operational to a larger extent. In terms of importation, when once licenses are given out to importers, anytime they want to import, especially, yes, they want to import, they will always ask for, they will write something called, LACAN approval. And then the LACAN is basically asking us for space in the tank. When we approve the LACAN, depending on the volume of crude they bring in, the vessel comes to our berth. LPRC will go, our technicians, our technicians will go and do the discharge of the vessel. So we'll do vessel discharge. And at the same time, before doing that, we have to first and foremost make sure that the product you're bringing in country it meets the country's quality specification. So once it meets the quality requirements, then our lab technicians will get approval that the product meets our requirements. Then it's discharged by our technicians. When it's discharged, we do something. We have our team, consistent with industry parties, will do a survey or inspect the product, the vessel, to make sure that the quantity indicated in the COQ is the same volume that is discharged into the tanks. When that process is done, is complete, then we issue 2-3 days later. We have a report called the outing report, right? Yeah. On the outing report, clearly indicating the volume, the consignee, and everything else, and then it's distributed to all the parties, including LRA and so forth, and then the importers and LPRC gets it. So that's just the operational processes. So we'll do the vessel discharge, we'll do vessel inspection, we'll do quality testing to make sure that the product meets the country's specification, and then at the same time, part of what we do is to ensure that our jetty is maintained from time to time. So jetty maintenance is also a part of it. Then other administrative decisions, from time to time taken, to make sure that the right technicians are there to do the discharge, to ensure that the right volumes, are placed in our tanks, and then, then the importers will now begin to do lifting, of the products based on the volume that comes in the country.
Okay, thank you. So I heard you talk about quality control, that you ensure quality control processes, yes, sir, are all followed before petroleum products are discharged. Yes, sir. So in my mind, that is not part of regulation. I mean, that is not part of operation, it's part of regulation.
Well, it's an operational issue because the technicians will have to go and get the product sample. We call it sample.
Yeah, get a sample.
Get a product sample from the vessel and then test it.
Senator Nukutan, the MD was saying we get the sample from the vessel, we bring the sample to the lab, and the sample is analyzed, tested to know whether it's consistent with our local specification. Once that is done, we get the results, and the results will tell us whether the product is okay for discharge.
So let me go with you. Do you charge for that?
Sorry?
Do you charge for that? Do you charge the fee?
Testing
operational fee for that?
Yeah, testing and handling fees, consistent with the recent directive that we have started.
Before the directive, did you perform those functions?
They were all inclusive into
the question is before the directive, did you perform those functions?
Oh, yes, we perform those functions, yes.
Sure. Did you charge for them?
Yeah, there was a bulk figure. So that the bulk figure was the storage fee, storage and handling fee. But we have disaggregated the particular figure now.
Okay, so before your administrative fees, if I may put it that way, your administrative fees or your operational charges were bundled up in your storage charge. That's what you're saying?
Yes, everything was bundled up.
So, on the basis of institutional knowledge, I'd like for the board chair to drill us through how we got to a storage fee of 30 cents or probably 35 cents. Since I know you've been there long, you have that institutional memory. For the sake of the public and for the sake of some of the decisions that the Senate took in recent time, I'd like to give for you to kind of give us the historical background of storage charge.
Thank you, President. FPRC levied storage fee.
Info coming?
Pastor, the word is properly distributed.
Thank you, President. FPRC levied storage fees to carry on its operations at FPRC. And this is something that is approved by the board of directors from time to time. During our time, when right after the war, the storage fee was around 10 cents. And then later on, after the war, FPRC decided to do expansion and rehabilitation of the facility. Because most of the tanks were built in the 60s, and they are outlived their usefulness. We were experiencing excessive losses and were paying a lot of money. So the management decided to do an expansion and rehabilitation to increase the capacity of the entire terminal. So based on that, to finance that, there was a decision made to increase the storage to 20 cents. That storage was increased to 20 cents.
So who made that decision?
That decision was made by the board of directors. The managing director then and the board of directors approved by the board of directors. So it was around 20 cents during the Martin L. Johnson Sirleaf administration. And I got retired in 2014 and left FPRC, and the storage was around 20 cents. So during the past administration, the storage increased to 30 cents, 30 to 35 cents. And they gave almost the same reason that they wanted to continue the rehabilitation. And at the time they took over, according to them, there was increment in the material cost and other things. so they increased the storage fees. But that was not done by the then administration, but the immediate past administration increased it to that 10 cents.
So when you requested for 10 cents, or when you added 10 cents to expand the 10th fund, did you at any point in time consider that after the expansion the 10 cents was being removed?
Well, we didn't have in mind that the 10 cents were going to be removed immediately. They were also going to be based on the maintenance of the new facility. Because as you increase the facility, you add other new technology to enhance your operations, you have to maintain them. So to maintain them, you need money to do that. So the 20 cents was in place during the rehabilitation. And I left FPRC and just came back when this government came over. And they have increased your 30 cents.
Okay, so you were there before, and you had different services you were provided as enumerated by the MD.
Yeah.
And you decided to bundle all of the charges into storage. What was the idea behind that?
Well, the FPRC was playing different role in terms of providing quality control, testing the product. That also comes with cost. So all importers that were importing, bringing in their product, FPRC have to certify the product, and that came with a cost. We also had to do, we were also doing the discharging. And during discharge, we have to have our men divided into shift, and that
Yeah,
also.
so my question is,
so the issue.
Why did you bundle all of those charges into one?
Yeah, the whole thing was, it was not disaggregated. The management then decided that, look, all the services that we are rendering in order to keep FPRC afloat and to render all services, they decided to put all into the storage fee. They decided to put all into the storage fee instead of disaggregating them into various
Okay, so the reason I'm asking,
yeah,
because the sector has evolved.
Yeah, sure.
And there are other players, there are private players who have concessions building their own tanks. And you have private players also who have tanks, who might want to commercialize their tanks. Instead of importing products and storing them in the tanks, they just want to do storage. They may want to do storage.
Yeah.
Or at some point in time, they may have the capacity and other importers might not have. So they might go to use their facility.
Yeah.
If you, as a government institution, and having the statutory or having the responsibility of regulating the sector and carrying on other operational roles, and bundling all of your charges into one and passing them over to maybe concessionaire or to private tank owners. Don't you think that was being done or is being done at a disadvantage of the country?
Well, I don't think so, for the fact that we call it storage and handling fees. So that storage and handling fees is taking into consideration all of the services that we are providing.
It's for you now.
Yeah.
It's for you. If I'm Peter, you're doing storage and handling fees.
Yeah.
And if I bring my product and you handle my product to store in my tent.
Yeah.
And what you charge, or what is being charged for storage and handling for LPRC, is the same thing that is being charged by me.
Yeah.
Should that be the right approach?
No. For the private players, I think there should be another approach. But the fact that LPRC is the one doing the discharge for all private terminals. Right now, it is what we are doing.
Okay, so just to get to the point, because we have other hearings.
Yeah.
Would there be a problem if we bifurcate or if we separate the different charges in the new law as it's been done in the new cycle, in the recent cycle?
There will not be a problem. I think the new law should address that. Since that the industry has evolved over the years, the new law should address that. The new law should address that.
Okay, so I also read the proposed act. They are concession storage terminals. They were not mentioned in law, in private tank farm owners or private tank farm association. I didn't see them being referenced in the law. As I indicated, the sector is involved. Don't you think their roles should be referenced in the law?
It should be, Senator. It should be.
Okay, thank you. Then what you say about the follow?
No, I think it went there. Because he said he left LPRC ever since storage fee was
set at 20 cents based on the expansion program they had. So I just wanted to follow when you left there at 20 cents. At that time, did they have private tent owners in the country? When you left there at 20 cents, when the board proposed that from 10 cents to 20 cents to expand, at that time, did they have private tent owners?
No, the private tank owners, they were not there at the time. They were still being constructed.
Okay, so presiding there, I wanted us to, because at the time they had their fees bundled, there were no players in the sector at the time.
There were no players at the time.
No private players.
No private players.
That's what I wanted to.
So say there are private players who can bundle different charges.
Yeah, we can bundle.
Okay, bundle
We support our senior brother.
Okay, we cannot bundle LPRC.
No.
Chairman, but right there,
yeah, please.
So,
the chairman take it over now.
Yeah. The storage fee is 35 cents, right?
10 cents.
10 cents. Instead of 10 cents, what in order?
No, the storage fee was 10 cents.
Storage and handling.
Yeah, it was 10 cents, but now it's 5 cents.
So, is you charging 10 cents or 5 cents for storage fees?
5 cents for storage fees now.
All the other handling charges make 25 cents.
26 cents.
So how much is fees?
Will it help y'all?
Yes. Instead of 30 cents or 35
So
cents.
if a private tank is taking in, is storing product for another private entity, that private entity is paying 5 cents to the other private entity for storage?
Well, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's how it should be. That's what it is of 2 different things. Okay, so let me lay it based on
So, I understand your question, Senator. Now, what happens is that Connect, for example, let's say, is a private terminal, and in the event Connect writes to say we're or a particular private terminal writes and say we need a space. In the event LPRC does not have it, and the company needs the product, so Connex agreed to take the product. That discussion about the fees is between Connex and that private importer.
How much is that fee?
The fee is 5 cents.
Follow up.
The fee is 5 cents.
So if then you don't talk, you talk again, you get problem. I want you to talk. So if importer brings the product and say, I want to put it in this particular tank, I'll pay all your fees, but I want this tank. Will LPRC allow it, or LPRC have the right to start?
See, we want to pay our fees, and we always do that. We always, yeah, it's in the event LPRC does not have the space.
No. LPRC got space.
But what will you need LPRC space and for somebody else?
So that's what we say a bundle.
Huh?
That's what we're coming down to, a bundle. Because you see, there's free space on the other side, but you say, no, you have to come in my tank. That's the point I'm making a little bit.
Okay,
this is why the reason why we should bundle you.
You always do this for justification.
When you say private terminals, are not commercial terminals. So we have to also understand that. So there's a difference between private terminal and commercial terminal.
Yeah, of course there is a difference. The senator knows that.
Okay, so yeah, where I was going.
Why?
So yeah, where I was going. Water is in commercial tank, private tank, or LPRC storage tank. Storage fee is 5 cents.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so Dillon Petroleum Limited brings in product and want to store in Java Petroleum Limited storage. You pay 5 cents.
That's why you shaking your head. Let him go for the record.
He's talking. He's not in there.
They're having about jetty, all the testing. Who pays and to who?
So all the operational aspect about vessel discharge and so on, they are done by LPRC. Whether it's done at private terminals or LPRC facilities, they are done by LPRC. So we get something called vessel discharge fees. Then we have testing and handling fees. Recently, we got to study almost $1 million worth of petroleum, testing laboratory. We are currently equipping that with state-of-the-art equipment. So we have to collect fees because LPRC is performing those tasks. Also, Senator, LPRC entered into a contractual agreement or agreement with private terminals. They are commercial terminals for the purpose of storing their products. That's the agreement between them and us. So in the event LPRC has to approve for a importer to go there, the collection of storage fees is not LPRC. Yes, sir.
Most I would like to ask my question in a way that again, business to the people who can understand that me. I want to be asking something. You just lost it. So if you storing in my tank, you pay me 5 cents. That testing fee, they have all the other handling fees, they are paid to LPRC.
Yes.
So my private tank is only receiving storage fees. I will taking another person's product to store in my tank. I'm not taking testing fee for that. I'm not taking any other handling fee for that. Because the only business is to store the product in my tank and give me 5 cents.
Yes, that's the storage fees. Yes. The testing, all the other work, technical work, they are done by LPRC. Vessel discharge is done by LPRC. We send our technicians. If the vessel is staying here for...
Why was it in recent times suggesting that the action of the Senate and the executive and the government of Liberia was targeting importers to take fees from.
Well, there's people just trying to politicize.
We have a role to play in proper dissemination of the proper information and education of people. Right? So if I have my storage tank, and any entity wants to store a product in my tank, the testing fee, all the other handling fees that I'm a business, the only that will pay $5 to me for keeping it
for storage.
For storage.
Yes.
Yes. So why is it that of recent importers were especially those with farm tank? When you're tank, you can talk. For the institution who is targeted to a credit, when you have this opportunity, it's good to make this clarity because it was said that the Senate was targeting certain people.
Well, Senator, it was not actually.
No, we closed now. That was the last year. After I think I spent.
But I'm answering the question, right?
Say you want clarity, let me ask the question. Answer the question now, will you clarify?
Ask the question your way.
But listen, you know,
you
made a chairman of you.
Ask the question your way that is on.
Mr. MD, you are on a hook. In trouble there. You are on a hook. Let the record reflect.
Are you aware?
Gerald DeLong Petroleum Import Company raw product. LPRC has knowledge. Print Moving Storage Company has knowledge. It has space in that thing. And Gerald DeLong bring in his product. Alright, Snow get a 10 too. Alright, wait, let me go back now. West Oil brings in product. Streamers has space in your tank. LPRC has space in your tank. West Oil says, LPRC, I will pay you 26 cents. But my product, I want to store it in streamer's tank. Even though you got space in your tank, I'll pay you 26 cents, but I want to store in streamer's tank and pay my 5 cents for the storage. Will you allow it? No, you're not.
Senator, let me say this to you. We have, from time to time, been cooperating and working alongside private terminal owners. Many times we have agreed for products, petroleum products to go in SST and even in Connects.
Chief, I have a specific
question. In this case, we will do.
Have you done? Have you done?
Senator, can I just talk?
Oh, you asked me.
In the email.
So this is my house now. I'm not going to
yeah, but it's
importer brought a tank, LPRC got space, and streamer got space in a tank. They pay you 26 cents. You can't look at me. Will you allow the product to go in that tank, or it's optional, you approve it or you didn't approve it?
We have always done that.
Really? For the record should reflect that.
We have always done that, but and this is the context I want to give you, so that it doesn't appear. So you see there, I want to give you a context because the Schumer situation he's talking about, he challenged us legally, he challenged the president legally. So there's a case in court that we can. So you see
the LPRC has the money now. LPRC can sue and be sued. Why don't you leave the president? Why do you leave the president to screw up?
No, the point is, it was a presidential decision that we implementing. You know that, Senator? When it comes to the disaggregation of the storage fees, okay, it was a presidential decision following the recommendation from the Senate. The Senate.
Okay, so back.
Which is protect the
exactly, because you're taking on the law. We're closing, but we will get clarity on the matter for remand. When you pour fuel in my tank, you pay me faster.
When they put fuel in your tank?
You have to store in my tank.
Yeah. That's the storage fee.
When they pour fuel in another person's tank, that's faster for storage. All the other handling, jetty payment, to maintain the jetty lines, to do testing, those are 21 cents. All put together, charges.
Actually, it's 21.
21.
With the exception of the siege. Yes.
It's 21 cents.
Yes.
Bundled together. Only to be paid to FPRC because those are
activities.
You still don't want to bundle.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
we want to be clear on the record that the storage fee, anybody who's storing people fuel, they're receiving that $1,000.
Of course they are.
The only reason why other people, instead they want to talk, the reason Fremex,
But say you're leaking on and you're attacking on and so this morning.
You should, man.
You talk, you get your chair now, then you come back to us, so you back it up by the man. I co-chair the committee. Join the meeting now. Join the hearing.
Then you can pass it. When you finish,
we just wanted the record to carry.
And you start checking the people. And you start checking the people.
We wanted the record to carry. The Senate action was not targeted. Anybody who has storage tank in this country still maintains the storage tanks and is receiving the $1,000 for storing people's products.
Yes.
All the other handling charges on FPRC are kept with FPRC.
Yes.
Also be monitoring in the private company.
The CPP file continues.
All right, at this point, we'll recognize the association for the last comment.
For the record's sake, even though we had a position statement, I want to state directly the part of the act that affects us, section 4.1, exclusive right of FPRC to import and store petroleum product. And also section 4.2, FPRC becomes regulator and market participant. Those are the two areas for the record that
give us your adverse view on those two sections and send it to the committee.
Thank you.
Please send it. You send it. Okay. So at this point,
1 minute, Chairman. Mr. FD, you stay on the old and before our leader one more hand.
Try to threaten.
I see that. I said I see a lot. You see that? I said I see a lot. You see that? Hey, man.
No one says you're joking.
All right, but we are also waiting for fire force report. Okay, at this point in time, let me thank everybody for your well participation. More or less. But we don't want to work FPRC. We're not looking for a job. We are already working. We are senators. We want to thank all of you for coming to this hearing. If there's a need for recall, we respectfully let you know. But your views are all noted, and we'll be working in committee room and be in touch with you as we get to the closure of this hearing. We want to thank all of you who dispersed at this time. We thank all the senators for coming. Even those who got business interest, we thank you too. They charge the witnesses.
We get outside your instruction. We end it way later.
Tell them when they say, nothing to stand. Nothing can happen before you come here.
Why you say that?
You are guests of the Senate.
Good for you.
Thank you for your protection. Thank you. Nothing wrong with it.
John Chairman, community comparative committees on judiciary, human rights, petitions, ways, means, budget and finance and budget, public operations, carbon, energy and environment. Thank you for coming. Thank you.